So I'm here with Scott Johnson, the CEO of Wōjē Incorporated. Hello, Scott.
Hello, how's it going?
Glad you good. Glad you could make it for the interview. Just let's just kind of hop right into it and ask some possibly tough questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first and foremost, um, the inception of Wōjē. What kind of really inspired you in the creation of it?
Well, that goes back a ways, but I do want to say thank you for the chance to, for this interview, and excited to kind of share the journey. It actually started from another company that I started. I did not come from the background of business and finance. I actually was just, I was an employee, and I had a couple of mentors that walked in where I was working and said, "You should be a business owner. You have the personality, you have the knack to be able to do it." And they were the first ones to push me into starting my own business. From that business, I I ran into a issues, not understanding how to sell. I was discounting like crazy. Merchant services was taking a piece, and I was like, "There's got to be a better way. Someone's got to have something out there that's a better way." And I kept looking, but couldn't find anything that fit small businesses. And then I was losing money to bigger jobs. I was losing sales to bigger companies that were charging triple and quadruple my price, and I was wondering how. And of course, it dealt with finance. So I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. Well, I dived right in, and I lost a lot of money, had a lot of collections. It was a nightmare, but I knew that I was onto something because there were people that were making a lot of money off of financing, just needed to figure out how. And I developed it. And as soon as I figured out, there was one moment in time that I still remember that the missing piece hit me. And once it did, and I started financing using these specific this specific way of doing it, all of a sudden I didn't have issues with collections. In fact, it did a complete paradigm shift where customers stayed with me forever. Uh, I was earning the interest, I was earning the merchant fees. I didn't, I wasn't losing a portion of my sales. I was selling at a bigger rate, more larger sales, more sales, and with less customers. I was kicking customers to the curb that I was like, I don't want to deal with, with that type. So I was able to shrink the number of people that we were doing work for, and at the same time increase my profit. So it was a beautiful model. And then from there, I was just talking with some buddies that own companies, and they were saying that they were having issues with collections. And of course, I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about, because I thought everybody was doing the exact same thing that I was and what I came up with. And come to find out, they weren't. They said that I needed to share it. So I started sharing it, and I never thought that I was going to be building a business like this, that where we're going national, we'll be going international with it. We're doing patents, international patents. There's just a ton going on, and it's exciting because it deals with my upbringing in business, which is the small local business, and how do I help the majority of people out the same way that I figured out how to do it and the benefits from it. So yeah, I went decades without having collections. I did captured all the interest, captured the merchant fees. It was easy to do once you figure out the system. And then building the team, I found the right people. Right people came on to the corporate bus, I guess you could say, and now I have this wonderful team of people that are excited and have the same vision, where we can share this with local businesses like medical, construction, uh, local sales, local services, and individuals that want to sell stuff. So the platform was designed for the local people, so that they're the ones that can keep the profit that usually merchant services is making, credit card companies are making, finance lenders are making. That's basically it.
Hmm.
Bringing all the money back into their hands and the power to do so.
So now you said a couple things. For one, you were actually outbid by people that were higher priced than you.
Yeah.
And then you went from that to where you could actually charge a little bit more, and you were keeping the interest and not having collection problems once you figured out that some of the keys of how the system worked then.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I can still remember it. I bid on a job that was excuse me, it was Mills Montessori School. I won the bid. I discounted it to the point where I was hardly making any money. And I went to pick up the deposit. And by the time I got there, a larger company had come in and had them sign on the dotted line before I could get there for them to sign on the dotted line. Kind of dates me because that was before internet. And I got there and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like, there's no way they beat my price. Well, come to find out they were 4 times my price. And I go, why in the world would you pick that over what I was doing? And they said, well, they would finance it. I asked, how much are they asking down? Well, the down payment they were asking for covered all the material cost. So they were just reaping. They were really, they're, when I saw the contract, they were pillaging this company. And I just was like, okay, I can figure out how to do this now. I can do it on my own and I can do it much better. So the next job that I bid on, I would have bid it out at like 9,800 to be the lowest person, the lowest price person. And instead, I bid it out 3 times that, and finance, down payment, monthly payment, picked everything. And then I ended up getting it. And I felt so guilty that I actually did I built 2 extra signs for them. It's a sign company, but I built 2 extra signs for free just because I felt so guilty about the price that I had gotten. But I realized that I could serve better with that as well. So I started financing everybody that I felt comfortable with, and was able to move it forward that way to where income, interest, merchant fees were all coming to me, and I could give a greater service to my clientele because of it. And I wanted to, because they were, they're bringing in monthly payments. I'm bringing in monthly payments from them. So I want to make sure that they're taken care of. Total
So now,
different mentality than, when you discount to the point where you're not making a profit.
so now I mean, obviously you are worried about, taking advantage of them, but in the same sense, like there are those people that they don't care about that, but your whole goal is to have a win-win situation
Yeah.
with what.
Yeah.
So
And that's
you're
one of the,
helping people instead of them turning to credit cards and them turning to finance sharks and stuff like that, these companies can actually say, hey, we can help finance you and we're going to give you a fair price, but it is going to be a little bit more because of the financing, right?
yeah, yeah. And when you think about it, like for example, some of the things we teach is uh, you never finance double digits. You try and keep it below double digits, because as soon as you go double digits, there's this greed factor. We have a psychologist on board that kind of he goes over that in detail, and it's one of the reasons why I was so successful with financing, is because I never charged double digits. I think there was one account out of all of them that I've ever done that was double digits, and it was still low double digits. All the rest
Mm-hmm.
of them, anywhere between as low as 3.9 up to 9.7. So I've always tried to keep it there. And that's part of the reason why I've had success. And if you look at our YouTube channels, I think there's one that is Steve and I, and we're interviewing about what's the psychology behind finance, and why was I so successful when I was financing.
Yeah. Hmm. So ultimately, just the need for other businesses to do what you did created this desire to help other people and created Wōjē in itself.
Yes.
then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We've been offered a lot of money for the company, and we keep saying no because the the investors that looked at us that made these ridiculous offers, they would have just pillaged everybody. They would have
uh,
pillaged every business that was on. They would have pillaged every customer, and it was about the money, and it wasn't about protecting the small business and helping them thrive in uh, in a world where money is taken out of their pocket in such a fast amount.
yeah. Well, and that's kind of what appeals to me about Woje is the fact that you're helping both the customer and you know, the person that's providing the service, whoever that may be, you're
Mm.
helping them find a middle ground without having a third party involved of like a credit card company or something where they have to get outside financing. You just say, look, you need this service, you can't afford it. We're gonna provide a financing for this service,
Mm.
and there's they keep the interest, and this is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and one of the biggest things is when you look at it, I like what you said, is that it's creating mutual respect. We call it a SaaS, a service assisted contract. But really, what Woje deals with is civil, transparent, ethical financing. That's its purpose. Transparent, completely transparent. Business or individual who's selling something is selling to a customer, and it is completely transparent. It's done ethically and civilly. That's our goal. So that's why we teach that, because that's where the true benefit comes in, is uh is that relationship more than just the money. You want the long-term relationship, and Woje is that platform to allow that.
Okay, so let's go to this next question. Where'd you come up with the name Woji? Is there meaning behind it?
Yeah, so it's funny because there was a company called Purple Mattress that did really well marketing wise. They exploded really fast, and it's because of the marketing they did. I
Mm.
ended up being introduced to a couple of the guys that were involved in the marketing strategies that they did way back when, and they saw our idea and loved the fact that they gave freely their advice, and their advice was you need to do a test on the name and see what name is the best. So we ended up purchasing all these ideas that they had of what the name of the company should be, and I actually threw in Woje as just an extra name. We created websites for all of these different domains that we purchased, and then ran the test where we had the websites. The only difference between all of them was the heading, the 11-point type of the name of the company. And Woje and Woje Money over doubled all the rest. And it was funny because the guys go, yeah, it proves that we have no idea what people want, and we have to test and validate. But
Hmm.
Woje actually stands for William Oscar Johnson Enterprises, which is my grandfather and great grandfather, who I respect a ton because they built their businesses. One of them during the Depression did really well, was successful, and did a lot of service. So
Wow,
yeah, that's kind of
that's awesome.
where we decided on the name.
And it's kind of cool because I mean, you think about what people had during the Depression and how, people just did whatever they could. They were, the small business. They were, I mean, and the interesting thing is I don't think there's been a time where small businesses have had this opportunity, have financing like the big guys have until this
Mm.
point in time. I
Yeah.
think this is the turning point in what was happening with the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and really what you get out of the helping the person start up their own small business. And I think overall, I mean, there's a lot to be said about what can be done in helping.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, that's our main goal is we look at the small companies. That's who we want to help. This can, if this gets in the hands of big businesses, we worry that it will destroy a lot of local community uh, um, businesses. For example, it's funny because I put off a roofing company that does $500 million a year nationally because I don't really want the software. I'll feel guilty because the financing platform will make it possible for them to do what happened to me as this little teeny sign company, which is a big company comes in, they overprice, they finance, the small guy doesn't know about us and they're not financing, and it really can wreak havoc on small businesses. And so that's why I was like, I don't really want to do a demo with them. I don't really want to talk to them. It's just
Yeah,
because I would rather help a bunch of small businesses be able to be successful than just one large corporate entity that has overpowered the nation. But that's
yeah.
just me. But the other thing too is it doesn't matter if they get on or a small business, uh, a handyman or a LASIK surgery center, they both get on for the same price. We're not trying to gouge those that are making money and not gouge those that aren't or anything like that. We're trying to make it as ethical and civil as possible.
So, what would set Woje apart from other platforms or services that might be in this category?
Okay, so we get asked that a lot. There's so many popping up, and in the fintech world, the main two things that everybody is doing is how how can I easily get my money and how fast can I get my money? And they don't concern themselves with this main issue, which is money deals with people and it's emotional. And if you can't resolve the emotional side of things, you're always going to have problems with speed and how easy it is to get money. So this platform is built on that scenario. So again, we get asked all these questions. So and so just started up, or this company or that company. How are you different? And I just tell them to ask one question: who makes the merchant fees and who makes the interest? And
Hmm.
every time they'll say it's the company. That's
Yeah,
what makes us so unique. You're earning the interest, you're earning the merchant fees.
you're keeping your own interest. So
There's
they,
not, there's not a, you know what I mean? It's that isn't. We're just trying to keep all the money local. That's it.
so the coolest thing is I've noticed. I mean, there's been such a transition. I mean, even gas stations are starting to offer where you can use their card and it, does the same type of system. I mean, it's not like exactly what you do because you have obviously a way to repeatedly uh do what withdrawals and things like that. They only do like a one-time thing, but how much that the world is adapting to this, kind of like how even they requested, there's more popularity with the name Woje, how people are starting to almost demand they want a different way than just the same way that they've been doing things with credit cards, and they
Oh,
don't want
yeah.
to deal with the merchant services anymore.
Well, and if you notice, there's a lot of companies out there now that are saying zero, that the businesses have zero merchant fees. Okay,
Yeah.
and these merchant companies coming out saying zero merchant fees for the business. But what they don't realize is that they're passing those fees on to the customer and they can charge more. So they may have, where you were looking at the numbers, you're saying, oh no, I want 2.5%, I want 2%, trying to trying to cause them to lower it as much as possible. Now they're saying, hey, we can just turn it around and put that bill on the customer, and we can charge 5% instead of 2% from the business. And that's where they're pillaging the customer. Every time any kind of fees or any kind of fees, the businesses always pass them on to the customer to cover costs. What we're doing is we're just making a scenario where they're earning that extra money, so they don't have to push that onto their customers. The other benefit is this: if they're earning the interest in a smaller amount, that means that the customer is keeping more money in their pocket, which means now they're able to spend more locally. Most people don't look at that, but every location is probably losing. When I say local or location, I'm talking about communities. Communities, there's product and services that are purchased there, sold there, that you look at and you say it's millions of dollars. Well, actually, there's millions of dollars in assets that leave the state, and what's happening is that money is being funneled out of the state, and it's funneled in the form of merchant services and interest, and you get this steady flow. Well, all of a sudden you have communities where they're all in debt, which is the way the majority of society is. But the problem is the income of that debt, which is the interest that is accruing on it, is all leaving the state. And when it's leaving the state, it means that it's not local churning. It's not here where they can purchase it. It's sitting out in debt, and they've got to figure out a way to pay this debt that doesn't deal with you, that doesn't deal with your community. And all we're doing is we're making it so that all of that is staying local. And it's all because of the small businesses doing it.
I had one other person I had talked to about this concept, and he was a mechanic. And he had mentioned some of his concerns of getting paid. He said, so he would get people to sign a contract, and they'd pay with Venmo or other credit cards, anything, other payment platforms. And the problem that they'd have is after they'd paid and driven their 18-wheeler off his lot and he had fixed it, they would go and call their bank, and they'd say, or their credit card company, oh, this is fraud. And so he would call the credit card company, he'd call, the customer service place of whoever got paid through, and they'd say, I'm sorry, we can't help you. And he's like, I've got video surveillance, I've got signed contracts, I've got all this stuff. And they said, nope, we can't help you.
Yeah, they're just dealing with profit. That's all they're dealing with is profit. The other thing too is that they're dealing with a third party that controls all the money. Now, when I say a third party, I'm talking about their credit cards are more powerful than banks. They are a bank, and they're more powerful than a bank. So where you have a credit card involved, they could care less because they're making money. So if someone says fraud, they just say, okay, it's fraud. And there's no way that you can get that taken care of. They don't care about it. They don't want to deal with it. It's not worth their time. They're basically saying, no, you just take the lump that we give you. Do you know what I mean? In other words, the thump that they give you, and say, you go do it in your local, court. You take care of it that way. We're not going to get involved. We're too busy making money. But
because it's fraud, then they can just write it off as a loss, and then the tax, they get.
Well, they don't write it off as a loss. They just pull the money back, whether you like it or not. They pull the money back. Yeah. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen 6 months later, where signed contract. Every time they came in, it was a signed contract. It was like $50,000-$60,000 job. They would get $10,000 every time and hand them the stuff off. As soon as they gave them the last little bit, they walked out the door, claimed fraud, and all $50,000-$60,000 was pulled out of his account, even though it was, some of it was deposited 5-6 months ago.
Wow.
And he called them up, said, hey, I have signed contracts, I've got video. Same thing. No chance. Stripe didn't care.
So as far as the way that you can have this problem that they're dealing with alleviated.
Okay.
You're dealing with local banks then.
The goal is to bank locally. When you bank locally, you have more of a chance of not having these issues. Now, there's a couple of other things too. One is for the majority of businesses that are trying to finance, they're waiting for the person to pay. With Wōjē, they're never waiting for the person to pay. They have a contract in the SaaS, the service assisted contract, and the software that automatically auto withdraws according to the contract. It's like a smart contract on steroids. So you can allow fluctuations on the payments, the interest rate, everything. You're in total control, and you're never waiting for the customer to pay. You're always taking it according to the contract. So that's one thing. With credit cards, you're not doing that. You're waiting for them to pay. The other thing too is that it's much harder to close down a bank account than it is to close down a credit card. Credit card can be closed down in 2 minutes. They can call up and say fraud, and it's gone. You don't have a chance to fight against it at all. And it's one of the flaws of credit cards. Now, credit cards are a necessary evil. I'm not saying get rid of all your your merchant services, anything like that. I'm just saying that there's a smart way to do it, and you start by financing a specific way, and it's the way that I've had success in doing it, and we've just taken my 22 years of success and developed it into a software. I had people, I had someone claim bankruptcy and I still got paid. How is that possible?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? That'll be another video.
Yes.
But it's based on how the process is done to protect the business and keep that relationship. You got to understand, I deal with bounce payments all the time, and I could care less because the system has created this paradigm shift where if someone bounces a payment, there's a good chance that they're going to stick with me for life because of how it's handled.
Yeah.
They're not looked at as someone who is trying to escape from pain. They're always looked at as they must be going through a struggle, and I have the power to adjust the contract on the fly to help them out. So I've had people lose their job and I still got paid. I had COVID hit, I still got paid. I had people in car accidents still got paid. Buy a house, during, those are hard times that people are dealing with, challenge with money. I got paid. And the reason why is because I had the power to be able to offer leniency and control the situation in a way that made my customers feel like I wasn't upset with them.
Yeah.
It was 5-7 minute conversation, all taken care of. I could solve the problem in 7 seconds if I wanted to with a text message. I mean, it's very, very easy to do once you have the system in place. And so collections is not something that I've had to really deal with, just because of how it's handled. I'm doing the exact same thing that a collection agency is doing, but I'm doing it in a pre-way, not post-way. And because it's a pre-way, I can control it, and with that control, I can keep that relationship good with my clients.
Well, awesome. I just think that this is something that its time has come. It's something that's been, something that people have been requesting and hoping for. Just like, anything, people get tired of one thing and they're like, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, awesome. That kind of covers what I had for the interview. So appreciate your time and
yeah, thank you.
Look forward
This was fun.
More about Wōjē.
Yeah, well, right now, just so you know, we just started a wait list and preparing for the launch according to what our current clientele, the current users, wanted specific things with the software. And so we're adding all these features that they wanted to streamline it, make it better. And that's going to be launching soon. And so anybody who's interested can hop on the wait list, and we'll announce as soon as it's ready to go and have you hop on. Those people that get on the wait list, they can start out free. They
Okay,
can
well,
get their
we'll have to have a
first
link
customer.
below then for them. Have
Yeah,
a
we'll
link.
have a link somewhere
Okay,
so that they can click on it. Okay.
awesome.
Well,
Thanks
thanks a
again.
lot.